Well, happy Friday to you, and thanks so much for joining us tonight. A pretty quiet day right now across northern Michigan, but we've been talking all week. Things are certainly going to pick up this weekend. We have some potential severe weather and a big heat wave coming up. So for more on that, let's turn things over to our chief meteorologist, Joe Charleboy. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, and as that warm air builds in here, the hot air, I should say, for Sunday and Monday, it's going to kick off some storms as this front pulls in here. So that'll be late tonight and tomorrow. There is the chance in a few spots, Maya, for some severe weather potentially, especially north. And then that hot weather is going to kick in here, and you're going to really feel it Sunday. It's just going to be baking with the sun out, and that's going to stick around for a couple days too. Let's go to Sault Ste. Marie. A look there right now at the locks, and it's a nice afternoon. Sault Ste. Marie is one of those areas, though, especially north up in the UP, where, well, it's pleasant right now. We could see some severe weather perhaps tomorrow, at least some stronger thunderstorms rolling in. There's not much happening currently. Here's a look at things right now. We did have a couple showers and storms in Montmorency and parts of southern Alpena counties, but that's long gone. We're watching up here. This is where these storms are going to develop, where you see the brown shading, yellow shaded areas on the edge of the dome of heat. And then those will kind of ride it toward us later tonight. So that's kind of what we're keeping an eye on. And one more thing, we do have a heat advisory for our lower peninsula counties. So that kicks in noon tomorrow. Through 8 o'clock Sunday, I would not be surprised if this actually goes until Monday. Temperatures of 90 to 95. Heat index, some spots it'll feel like 100 degrees. And overnight lows only in the 70s expected. So that's a kind of an outlook at least over the next day or two what we have going on. We'll take a look at those temperatures, how warm it's going to get. And we'll also take a look as we move forward here at those storms and kind of the timing on all that, Maya, as we move ahead here.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe. And Consumers Energy is also tracking those storms and preparing for any potential severe weather. We spoke with a Consumers Energy staff member earlier today. Take a listen.
Right now on Friday, we have about 200 crews that will be staged and ready to go on Saturday morning if we start seeing outages from the high winds or the storms that are supposed to be moving through.
And of course, Joe and our other meteorologists here will keep you updated throughout the weekend too on potential for any severe weather. But speaking of the heat wave, let's take a look at our question of the day today. How do you stay cool in the heat? Scan the QR code on your screen right now to vote. That will take you over to our website. Our options are swim, air conditioning, a cold shower, a fan, maybe a popsicle or some ice cream. You can, again, scan that QR code to vote. You can also leave a comment on our Facebook page, and we'll take a look at those results and some of your comments toward the end of the show. All right, well, the Manna Project says it's seen an estimated 24% increase in the amount of food it has distributed this year compared to last year. The organization serves Emmett, Charlevoix, and Antrim counties. Staff say out of about 84,000 people in those counties, about 14.5% are experiencing food insecurity. So for more on that, let's bring in the executive director of the Manna Food Project, Carrie. She is joining us live now. Carrie, hi. Thank you so much for coming on Unscripted tonight.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So can we start off with a little bit of background on the Manna Food Project? What exactly is it? What do you do?
Yeah, so the Manna Food Project is located in Harbor Springs. We serve Antrim County, Charlevoix County, and Emmett County. We are a distribution center, so we have 43 partners that purchase food from us, whether it be a pantry or a meal program, and they distribute right in their local communities throughout the 3 counties. We also have a Food for Kids backpack program, where last year we distributed about 64,000 bags of food for children to take home on Fridays after school for the weekend to sustain them. And we also do a food rescue program where we rescue food from local grocery stores to be able to get food that they cannot sell anymore, but it's still good to eat. They put it in the freezer for us, and then we are able to get it into the hands that need it most. Last year, we rescued about 300,000 pounds. So that was a great program.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you guys are doing a lot. And again, so you are not a food pantry where people come directly to you. You give food to other local food pantries, correct?
We're unique, and we do have our own on-site pantry as well. So we see people each week at our on-site pantry.
So a lot of different ways to reach out to the community and try to make sure that they are getting the food that they need. So talking about this increase in the amount of food that you've distributed this year compared to last year, for some, this may be an obvious question, but what do you think is leading to that increase?
Right. The overall economy, people are just struggling to make ends meet to purchase basic needs with daycare and healthcare, and the cost of food, directly from the stores is just too much for a lot of people to bear right now. So they're seeking assistance at all of our local pantries.
And then I'm sure some of the food that you do have that you distribute is probably given to you from just people who want to donate in the community. But in times like this, not only is the need increasing for people who do need food, but also people probably then aren't donating as much, right? So it's kind of like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, thankfully, we have a great community that does give, and we are very lucky. Everybody rises up to meet the need of the people, and we are doing pretty good. But, with the rise in need comes more purchasing of the food. So we definitely need more support, volunteer-wise and donation-wise, to keep up with the demand.
And so if people do want to help, if they want to donate, they can just drop off food at your location in Harbor Springs?
Yes, for sure.
And
yeah.
if someone
And then on our website too,
Okay.
they can look at different opportunities, how they can help.
Okay. So how about if someone does want to volunteer? What would that look like if they are volunteering there?
Well, we have an application for volunteers. And once they get that application filled out, it comes directly to our staff. And then our staff would do a reach out to them, a tour, an orientation, and get them set up. Go through some food safety training and that sort of thing. And then they can sign up for the shifts on their own.
And how long has the Manna Food Project been around for?
So we've been around for 38 years. It started as a little soup kitchen. 5 men in our community thought there was a need, and they kept seeing people in need of food. So they wanted to give them a hot meal, and it just snowballed. They saw the effects increase, and then they started a pantry, and here we are 38 years later and serving 3 counties.
And in those 38 years, has the food project ever seen this sort of increase in demand before?
It is a cycle, but however, right now it's the highest we've ever seen in the last 2 years, unfortunately. And that's like that through the United States. We're part of the Feeding America National Network, and everybody is feeling the effects for sure.
Is there anything else that you want people to know about either what you do there with the Manna Food Project or just with this increase in demand that you think people should know about?
It's hard enough for people to ask for help, and just giving that extra push to the community to help support our neighbors is something that, we just try to spread the word as much as possible and get the word out there that there's probably a neighbor right next door that needs help. So lifting everybody up in the community, being a helping hand, and just listening to people is such a great thing. I've seen a bag of groceries become a lifeline for some of these families facing food insecurity. So just understanding each other and lifting each other up and just giving that helping hand is definitely something that we strive to do every day.
And I'm sure for you, it's kind of bittersweet seeing more and more people reaching out for assistance, because on one hand, you never want to see someone struggling just to put food on the table. But on the other hand, at least you know that they are reaching out for help and they are making sure that they are having food on the table.
Right. If we can just provide the food for them, they can use their funding for something else essential for their household needs. So it is that little lifeline that they can utilize. And we have pantries all over the place. So if people need to find food, we have a button on our website that you can put in your address and then see what the local pantry is closest to your home or work or something like that.
And I do believe we also have a link on our website, UpNorthLive.com, to your website and for more information. But before we let you go, Carrie, I'm just curious the name of the organization, Manna Food Project. Where does that come from? What does that mean?
It actually comes from the Bible, and manna means hunger and feeding and getting that relief and hunger. So that's where it came from.
That's very fitting. All right, Carrie, thank you so much for joining us on Unscripted tonight. We really appreciate it. And as I did mention, we do have more information over on our website, UpNorthLive.com, if you would like to donate or volunteer with the Manna Food Project. All right, well, switching gears here, we are learning about an invasive species in Leelanau County. It is in Little Glen Lake, and the Glen Lake Association is currently treating it. Our meteorologist Trevor Robideau reports on the invasive species impact and the treatment process.
In 2024, the Glen Lake Association spent many months surveying their waters for Eurasian water milfoil, or EWM, after workers found pieces of it in the water. Work quickly began to locate the source because EWM is harmful to local habitat.
It grows very quickly and it chokes out native aquatic plants, which is a habitat for local fish and other little critters that live in the water. Another thing that it does is when it forms these huge dense mats, it dies off in the fall. And when that happens, it can actually remove a lot of the oxygen from the water as it decomposes. And that obviously is bad for fish who get their oxygen in the water.
After extensive surveying, they found no trace of it until a local boat wash employee found EWM at the Glen Lake boat launch.
And one of our boat wash workers found that piece, took note of which way the wind was blowing, and from there, our watershed biologist was able to go out and actually find the colony in the water, which is out here in Little Glen Lake.
Now that EWM has been confirmed and located, the Glen Lake Association has plans to remove the species without harming local plants or wildlife.
What we are using is burlap barriers that we're going to lay out over the colonies of EWM. They're basically like giant biodegradable blankets. They're not made of plastic or anything like that. The whole point of this methodology is that it blocks sunlight from the EWM, essentially killing it off.
The Glen Lake Association and Environment of Great Lakes and Energy want to remind everyone to thoroughly wash their boats and gear every time they leave the water, as those are the most likely source of aquatic invasive species transmission, and it's the law.
Spend a few minutes, walk around your trailers, walk around, your boat, look for any debris hanging. Generally it's pretty easy to see a big plant hanging off your boat trailer. Like, spend a few minutes, reach underneath there, grab it off of there, empty your live wells, empty your bilges, make sure you just don't have any water. It doesn't take a lot of extra effort.
In Leelanau County, Trevor Robideau, Up North Live News.
All right, we are going to take a quick break, but coming up next, we'll bring back in our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. A lot to unpack with the weather this upcoming weekend, as we've been talking all week. Some potential severe weather coming up, and then a pretty big heat wave following. So Joe will have all the details on what you need to know for the weekend coming up in just a couple of minutes.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Some storms will be rolling into northern Michigan this weekend. Some of us have the potential to see some severe weather out of that. So, Joe, who is more likely to see some stronger, more severe storms this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I'll show you in Stormcast here in a minute, but it's mainly north, the UP Straits, maybe northeast lower Michigan. And that would be not so much tonight, but tomorrow mid-morning, I'd say morning into early afternoon. So we'll take a look at that. We also have the heat building, and this is what it looks like around the country tonight. These are the temperatures here as of, well, it's 6:45. It's still 105 out at Rapid City, and you can see the widespread 90s, some 100s there in the foothills of the Rockies. Hot weather, and that is going to head our way. So as we take a look at the jet stream, there it is. You can kind of see where northern Michigan is on there. That heat, just kind of see how it lifts north right up into here. So that's what we're looking at Sunday into Monday, that hot weather rolling into northern Michigan. Now, on the edge of all that heat is where there are some thunderstorms and where thunderstorms are expected to develop. So they feed off the edge of the heat dome that sits over the heart of the country. I just showed you that. And then on the periphery, on the edge of the heat, is where these storms develop. And they're expected to roll in. You can see that tonight. That's the area we're watching. Where you see the brown shading, that's an enhanced risk for severe weather. Those storms are going to fire up there and then track toward northern Michigan as time goes on. And you can kind of see they follow the edge of the heat. So that line there that we have drawn in is kind of where the route on some of these storms is going to head. Here's a look at Stormcast. So we'll start right now. Not much happening. And then later this evening, right there, you can see storms going up around Duluth, back north of Minneapolis into North Dakota. Now, look at the clock. This is the middle of the night. Not a lot happening here yet, but then these storms will kind of kick off across our area, again on the leading edge of the warm weather, from Mount Pleasant all the way up to Marquette, the western UP. That area could see some potential for damaging winds, and then this is kind of our time frame we're watching for us. These storms will approach our region. Again, Gaylord North in particular is an area we're watching. And then right within that, maybe some large hail with these storms. I think the main threat for us would be damaging wind potential, possibly a brief tornado spin up, but that's not very likely. These storms then exit by around noon, and then we may see a couple more developing up in the UP in the afternoon. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll have the latest on any warnings or watches that are issued potentially. And then the heat flexes north into Canada and takes the storms along with them. And then the storms exit. And by Sunday, we are looking at some hot weather. And we do have a heat advisory for all of our lower peninsula counties that kicks in tomorrow at noon through 8 o'clock Sunday night. And I'll run out the heat index. So this is what it will actually feel like when you marry the humidity and the temperature together. This is tomorrow evening. Already some spots near 100 degrees is what it will feel like. Cooler north where those storms will be going on. And then Sunday, yeah, there's the heat index Sunday afternoon in some spots near 100 degrees. So hot weather coming in for the next few days. Now, if you're wondering how long is this going to last, I don't have AC or a fan. Not super long. By Monday night, we'll start cooling down a little bit, and then we drop back into the 70s later in the week. So this is going to last tomorrow, later in the day, Sunday and Monday, the heat. Then after that, it does cool down, although if you look there, pretty active still. We have a front stuck nearby, so that's going to keep the chances, even though we drop in the 70s, Maya, for some rain, some storms in the forecast, even into next week.
All right, Joe, thank you so much for all of that. Don't go anywhere just yet. Coming up next, we have a really great story about baseball and veterans to share with you. Stick around. In northern Michigan, there are a lot of different types of parks with a lot of different types of purposes. On June 30th, two of those parks, one dedicated to baseball, the other dedicated to honoring the service and sacrifice of our veterans, will be coming together to send a very important message. Here's Mark Gillette.
I will be throwing out the first pitch. That's what they keep telling me.
And for most people, standing on that mound, towing that rubber, and firing that ceremonial pitch could be a little daunting.
I've been practicing, so you gotta get it across the home plate.
Practicing for that pitch because Major Turnbull has a challenge bigger than nerves.
Since I was blown up in 2019 and lost my eyesight, is repetitive. Everything. If I can do something, if I can do it over and over and over again, I'll make it repetitive and make it possible.
And tossing out a first pitch is becoming a little repetitive. You see, after being blinded and seriously injured while serving in Syria in a blast that claimed the lives of his fellow soldiers, he got a phone call from the Tigers asking if he wanted to make that ceremonial pitch.
I was like, I'm like totally blind, right? And they're like, whatever, we've had worse things.
So he did. And now, on June 30th, he'll be here, doing it again at Turtle Creek Stadium as part of the Pit Spitters Veterans Appreciation Night.
They're honoring all the veterans, all of our veterans, all the people that have served. Just a simple, like I said, it's a simple message of gratitude. We can say thank you, but let us show you that, we mean thank you. Let us show you our gratitude.
That appreciation night, an annual event for the Pit Spitters, but a new wrinkle this year. They're doing more than just hosting it.
They are going to be donating a portion of the proceeds of the ticket to the Patriot Park Veterans Memorial.
It's a ballpark helping out a veterans park.
They see our vision of this park, and it's just wonderful that we have this amount of people jumping aboard and trying to help in every way they can.
Dave Halachukas has spent a lot of time out here over the past year, getting the Kalkaska County property ready to serve veterans and welcome all.
I was thrilled when the Pit Spitters agreed when I called them last winter and told them about us, and they immediately said, yes, we'll be involved with that, and immediately said, we have a military appreciation night.
A night where Dave hopes folks use that QR code or the word Patriot at online checkout, fill these seats, and send a message to all who have served.
It just touches my heart that the sacrifices they make for us to be free in America.
And so, Dave, while working on his park, takes a few moments to take stock of this one, where in a few days, fans, thanks to the Pit Spitters, will get to show their support for veterans, and where one of them will remind all of us, as in combat, in life, we can all do more together.
It shows that, first and foremost, you don't have to go through anything alone, that there's always a team standing by ready to help. So I love it.
That was Mark Gillette reporting. And for more information about Veterans Appreciation Night on June 30th at Turtle Creek Stadium and to purchase tickets, head over to our website, UpNorthLive.com. All right, we're going to take our final break, but coming up in just a couple of minutes, we will check out our question of the day final results. Stay with us.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
A heat wave is heading to northern Michigan. Temperatures in the upper 90s starting on Sunday. So how do you stay cool in the heat? A lot of folks just turn on that AC. 14% say swim, including myself, ideally, if I'm close to a body of water. 4% cold shower, 22% fan, only 1% popsicle and ice cream. How about all the above? I would like to do all of these things, especially when it's going to be as warm as it is going to be on Sunday. All right, well, that'll do it for Up North Live Unscripted tonight. Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you back here at 11 o'clock.